Welcome to today's Bible study. I'm just seeing that there's a problem with the programming of the events on. That's interesting. Why is it telling me 2 events for today? Interesting. Today, the Bible study is for chapters 28 through 30 of Genesis. And here we are. We've started the room. Let me just use my very modern technology to pin this to the top of the page, top of the computer, so that I can keep an eye out on who pops in and out of the room. So, have you been pondering on the Bible reading of yesterday? I mean, there was just so much in there, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to reserve a larger piece of time to dedicate to the more juicy parts and leave out more of the trivia, although there is no trivia when it comes to the Bible. So this Bible reading and tweaking of things, I mean, there's just so much in there, especially that part talking about how Rebecca gets in the way of God. Just like Sarah, Rebecca steps in to try to fix things for God. Like, God made a promise. Okay, here, I'm going to have to take action to fix this. Isn't this what the churches always do? They decide for their followers, spiritual leaders, choose to decide for their followers how it is that God is going to operate in their case. They choose for their followers what they are supposed to believe and not supposed to believe. They're putting limits to God. God always has a way, no matter how the situation looks. If only we would just stop stepping in and choosing for ourselves what we need to do to make God's word come true. God's word is going to come true. The Bible tells us repeatedly, especially when we think that we are in the most dire of straits, it always says, stand still and watch God's salvation in your behalf. It doesn't say, God said he's going to save you from this situation, things are happening. He doesn't say step in to control it so that it goes my way. He says, I know how to make this go my way. You don't need to do anything. Trust in me. And when we substitute ourselves to God, we bring curses upon ourselves. We not only delay or even nullify the blessing we were supposed to receive, but we receive a curse from the lack of faith. So that is really something that if we ponder on these Bible readings day by day, if we ponder on just little parts, it's just going to be like, while you're washing the dishes, it's just going to be like you're going to have these sudden insights come to you, and your life will never be the same. It's happened to me time and again and again and again. So let's just dive right in. I'm looking at my Italian Bible as well, so we're going to be having a little bit of cross between the English and the Italian, maybe, I don't know. I always start with one idea and things go completely different. Praise be to God. So, Genesis 28:1. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Paddan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people, and give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham. So as we saw at the end of chapter 27, Rebecca stepped in, messed things up. I mean, like, she stepped in, caused Jacob, told Jacob to lie, steal, and cheat, and that she would be responsible for it. And then Esau becomes really angry and he's plotting to kill his brother. And so Rebecca says, here, I'm going to have to send you away. Go away and come back only when I tell you to. And then she goes to Isaac, and instead of explaining the situation as it is, she manipulates. She makes this excuse to say that she doesn't want Jacob to marry one of the daughters of Het the same way as Esau has, right? And so that is like Isaac. It's not that Isaac didn't know from the get-go that he was blessing Jacob. I was thinking about this. I'm thinking Isaac was repeatedly giving Jacob a chance to confess who he truly was. That's one thing that comes up for me, because like me too, especially when I'm dealing with people who think they are manipulating me, very often I will not confront them openly. I will give them a chance to come clean on their own and see how they act on that. And the sad part is that more often than not, people will not come clean. They will not say the truth. They will not choose the path of the moral high ground, which is a good path to take, because they're too afraid of consequences. They will not step into integrity, because in this world this world has brainwashed us into believing that integrity is going to lead to a downfall. Maybe in the short term. In the long term, only those with integrity will stand. So Isaac agrees. He goes, yeah, okay, sure, fine, sure, here. Actually, that is the best, because I myself got you from down there, like, because Rebecca was taken from the same family, and so Isaac, chapter 28:5. Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padan Aram unto Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and was gone to Padan Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalat, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. So, once again, Esau thinks that he's going to please his own parents by doing things his way. He, just like his mother, he sees that things are not okay. And instead of changing his way of operating, he still tries to fix things his way. And that is what God is always trying to tell us. Don't do that. I will provide the way out. I will provide. If you come to me and you ask me, I will be the one to give you the insight. Had Esau gone to his father, honored his father, and said, hey, Dad, I really messed up. I see that you really don't like these wives of Canaan. I really messed up. How can I fix this? What would Isaac have said to him? That is something that we really need to think about in our own lives. Like when I mess things up. When you mess things up, what do? Do you decide how to fix it? You mess things up with someone in your family. You decide for yourself how to fix it. You decide for yourself how to make the amends. Maybe that kind of amends has nothing to do with what that family member really needs or really cares about. When I was super duper sick, one of my family members, I called and said, hey, I'm dying. And this family member replied, so what do you need, money? It was heartbreaking. And our relationship has never been healed. This person has never, ever reached out to heal the relationship. And yet they're the person with the upper hand. And so we really want to be careful. We want to go and talk with the person that we have upset somehow to try to make things right. Now, once you've done that, if they never agree to make things right, if they never show up, if they keep pointing fingers, if they keep taking anything you do or say to attack you, accuse you, and blame you and everything, or just like, just drop it and walk away. On the other hand, if they come to you, as we saw Isaac in the case of the wells he was digging, where Abimelech first mistreats him, kicks him out, has all of the wells get stopped up and everything, and then he's afraid and he goes. We saw that yesterday. And then he comes along and says, hey, let's make a pact because after all, we only treated you right. I mean, even if they're not willing to make up, if we choose to allow them to save face and make up and just stay on our own, but keep the peace, things will go good with us. They will go well with us. So, keeping the peace does not mean being stupid. Moving forward now in Genesis 28:10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night because the sun was set. The word lighted. We saw last time that the word to light, maybe this is a different word that is used. This one is fall, meet, reach, intercession, entreat. It means to encounter, to meet, to reach, to entreat. So it's not the same word that was used in the case of Rebecca when she first meets Isaac and she literally falls off the camel. Here it means to, in Strong's definition, means to impinge by accidents or violence, or by importunity, to become, to cause, to entreat, to fall upon, to make intercession, intercessor, entreat, lay light upon, meet together, pray, reach, or run. Let's have a look at what Yesenia's word is. Strike upon or against. To strike upon a person or thing, to rush on anyone with hostile violence, to strike a covenant with anyone, to make peace with them, to cause anything to fall upon anyone, to supplicate, assailant, enemy. Okay, so those are some interesting possibilities for the meaning of this word, light upon a certain place. It could be he fell and he stayed there all night. It could be that maybe he was, he was scared his brother was going to hurt him. So yes, he leaves. What do we know if maybe he was running and he stumbles and he falls? And he stays there all night because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that pit place and put them up for his pillows and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And yes, I think that, I might be wrong, I'm thinking that this is also the same, this is the ladder, the stairway to heaven, which then there has been a counterfeit one of which the Pink Floyd sing. And behold, Jehovah stood above it and said, I am Jehovah, God of thy father, of Abraham thy father, and God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee, in thy seed, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awakened out of his sleep, and he said, surely Jehovah is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place! This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob arose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillow and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the city was called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall Jehovah be my God. And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be God's house, and of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the 10th unto thee. And here we have the tithe. A tithe is voluntarily offered here. That's something very interesting for us to consider, the tithing. God always says that we are to give with a willing heart. We should want to give what we give, not give it against our will, or give it because we have to, or give it because we want something in exchange. And that's where this one verse could be a bit confusing. It's almost as if Jacob is saying, okay, God, if you will do all this for me, then you will be my God. And that is pretty much the way most people think. But was Jacob really turning God into his errand boy? He's trembling. he's afraid. He's like, oh gosh, I need to walk lightly here. I need to be very careful what I do and I say, because this is where the Almighty God is, and he can snuff me out in a second if he wants to. So this is reverence. This is, God has promised this. He is my God. He's made all this promise. He didn't need to promise this to me, but he promised this to me. I'm not the firstborn, I'm the secondborn. I did something I shouldn't do. I knew I shouldn't do it. I knew I shouldn't deceive my father. And yet I did it anyways. And instead of getting punished, God appears to me, instead of appearing to strike me with lightning, he appears to me to say, hey, I have chosen you. So if you do all of these things, then like, this is everything that I will do. No, he doesn't even say if you do. He says, this is what I will do for you. So that is something that we really want to consider. God's blessing is always a free gift. He doesn't have to bless us. So are we going to accept the gift and walk with him and trust him? Or are we going to either overstep and try to achieve it by ourselves? Or worse, are we going to not believe it at all and do things our way anyways? Or worse, try to deserve it. We cannot deserve God's blessing. We cannot deserve it. So that's like the love of a small child for a parent. Stuff to ponder. Moving on to Genesis 29:1. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said unto them, my brethren, whence be ye? And they said, of Haran are we. And he said unto them, know ye Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. And he said unto them, is he well? And they said, he is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, we cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we will water the sheep. And while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him in the space of a month. So let us just go back one moment. This is something interesting, because as we said, nothing in the Bible is written there just to be there. There's always some parallel. And especially every time we're talking about wells, what is the water that Jesus can give us, from which we will never be thirsty again? Here, So water is always like spiritual nourishment. And the fact that this is just something that stood out to me. I might be wrong in this. If you have a better insight, if you have a different insight, whatever comes up for you, please do share. And here, all of these herdsmen from different owners, they're all gathering together around this well. And they're all like, no, we can't take anything from the well. We cannot drink from this well. We cannot get the water until everyone is united. Only then can we roll it away and get water from this well. Only then can we have our spiritual thirst quenched once all of us have united together. And then we will open the well. But when Jacob sees his family's sheep, he opens the well and feeds them and gives them to drink first. What about this whole uniting of the faiths around the whole world? What about all of these bringing everything and everyone together in this big movement of once we're all united, then we can have a new, different kind of spirituality. And let's plan out this spirituality that we will, everyone in the world, it doesn't matter what kind of religion you're part of, everyone will be the same. Everyone will get water from the same well. It's just something that came up for me. Think about it. Let's see what else comes up for us. Genesis 29:13. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Oh, I'm sorry. I repeated this. And he told Laban all these things. So he tells Laban everything that happened. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? So he lives with him for a month. He's already working for him during this month. And only after that does Laban feel like, okay, he hasn't brought up the subject money, but if I'm going to look like I'm righteous, I'm going to have to bring it up. And Laban had 2 daughters, and the name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for an handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, what is this thou hast done unto me? Did I not serve thee with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And Laban said, It must not be done so in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve me with yet 7 years, 7 other years. And Jacob did so. He fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. So here we have Laban, who is being really tricky. Not to mention that Jacob, having told Laban everything that had happened, proved to be a bit naive. That's what happens very often. Very often, when you are the kind of person who you do things like to deceive others, it will happen that you start to think others to be more stupid than you. I don't know exactly how to express this. Practically, there's a few situations of various people, both in connection with me, but also between other people, which are coming to mind. So it's kind of clouding my mind right now. I'll have to get back to this a different time. However, the thing is this: when you are a person who deceives others, you tend to kind of disregard the danger of dealing with others. And at the same time, you are setting yourself up to be deceived. I'm making some confusion right here, so let's just forget about this little bit here, because I had a whole sentence, but it's all gone muddled, so we'll get back to this another time. So practically, what does Laban do? Laban is like, okay, this person can't get away anyways. He's got this situation back home. His brother wants to kill him. So, you know what? And he's come here. He didn't bring any gifts. He didn't bring anything. So I'm going to take advantage of him, because remember, Laban is the one who's materialistic minded. He's not the one spiritual minded at all. So he first gives Leah, and he kind of he's tricking Jacob into working for him the double of the amount of the years. He's tricking him into staying there. He wants to keep him there. Obviously, Jacob is valuable. Jacob knows how to do stuff. And so he's just like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this guy. I'm going to have him work for me. And like, we're going to keep on saying, yeah, you're my son, you're my family, or whatever. But, isn't that the way so many people behave nowadays? It's just sad. Anywho, so moving forward, Genesis 29:31. And when Jehovah saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, surely Jehovah hath looked upon my affliction. Now, therefore, my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because Jehovah hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bare a son. And she said, Now I will praise Jehovah. Therefore she called his name Judah and left bearing. So what is this with this situation with Leah and all of these kids? Just popping back to Leah was tender-eyed. Let's have a look at what that could mean. Let's just click the tools. I'm using Blue Letter Bible. I'm on Blue Letter Bible and looking at the interlinear, the original words. Tender. Here's the interlinear. Eyed Leah tender, but Rachel was beautiful and well favored. So tender, she was tender. Let's have a look at what that word means. Rak, tender, soft, faint-hearted, one, weak, tender-hearted. This is how King James Version translates it. Outline of biblical usage: tender, soft, delicate, weak, tender, delicate of flesh, weak of heart, timid, soft of words, gentle words. Tender, literally or figuratively, by implication, weak, faint, soft, tender-hearted, weak. And let's have a look at what Gesenius says. Tender, spoken of little children, of cattle, young and tender of flesh, infirm, weak, dull eyes. Considered, which was considered a defect. So in Gesenius' Hebrew Chaldee lexicon, he references Genesis 29:17, which we just read here, of being tender-eyed, that it was dull eyes, which was considered a defect. If we compare 1 Samuel 16:12, so let's just do that. 1 Samuel 16:12. Which is the anointing of David. Beautiful countenance, godly to look on. It's not the same word though. It's not the same word here. So we're going to have a look at that another time. You do your research and let me know what you find. So getting back on track. So it was considered a defect to have these dull eyes. The eyes were dull, tender-eyed, dull. I sometimes feel like my eyes are dull. Forget about that. So God does not like it when someone is, he does not like these. He does not like it when people are oh gosh, my words, where are they now today? Ostracized. You might not like someone. You might prefer someone else, but it's no excuse to make that person feel unwelcome. And clearly Leah was being made to feel unwelcome. And very often, like, God meets us all where we are at. When something happens, it reminds me of like when I think of how God takes action in certain situations, a problem occurs. Like both when, this reminds me of my mother. The two times when I was pregnant, when I got pregnant, and when my younger sister got pregnant, both times, it was not the ideal situation. And both times, we're standing in the living room, all of us, and communicating the result. And it's like, okay, yeah, so yeah, stick turned blue. And both times, mom, she's standing up and she's like, sits down. Oh well. It's like, okay, acknowledge the situation and find the best way to deal with it. You can't change what happened. All you can do is acknowledge the situation and find the best way to turn whatever it is, whatever seeming obstacle it is, into whatever it is. And in certain situations, once the boat's been made, you can't turn it into something else. At the very most, you can burn it. Once you've made your bed, you sleep in it. Once there's all of these ways of these idioms around the world of like, something's already been done and you can only move forward with it. So here, this situation had been done. Leah had been married, like Laban had tricked Jacob, and he fulfills the week of Leah, like he does his marital duties with her for that 1 week, or for more than that, obviously. But he does his marital duties, but he doesn't really care for her. He makes her to feel unwelcome, and God doesn't like that. And so what does he do? He blesses Leah. That's why we never want to be stomping on someone else when they are already down. We want to be lifting people up, because if we're not going to take care of those people, God cares about that person too. And God will lift that person up if we don't do our part. We are called upon to lift others up, to be God's instrument to be lifting other people up. And if we're not going to do it, he's got to find another way to do it. And it's going to be very evident. That's another thing. So she has all these kids, and here's all of these names. We're going to skip looking into all of these names. How about you go and look into all the original names and see what kind of genealogy comes out for you, what kind of genealogical phrases come out for you. Moving forward into the last chapter for today, Genesis 30, which is quite a long one. See? Yep. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, give me children or else I die. So practically she's accusing Jacob. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. So here we go with the concubines again. And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Jacob said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a troop cometh, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother. Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldst thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lay with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, thou must come unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, Jehovah shall add to me another son. So that's like this whole story. I cannot help but laugh, because over these last years, I've been watching a lot of Chinese period dramas. Empresses, it all started with empresses in the palace. And that's what also led me to start studying Chinese. And so it's like, and I'm seeing like really it's kind of like the emperor and all of these concubines, and all of these concubines constantly fighting against one another to be the most favored of the emperor. And the favor supposedly comes with how many sons you can have. And I mean, Jacob here, man, this guy, he only has sons. He doesn't have any, he only has one daughter, and for the rest, it's all sons. So isn't that interesting? And I'm pretty sure that there's some deeper meaning to that as well. And on the one hand, it's kind of funny. On the other, it's really it shows just how divided this family is. On the one hand, you have Leah and Zilpah, and on the other, you have Rachel and Bilhah, and like they are against each other, and their sons are also pretty much dragged into this quarrel. And so that's like, you can't play favorites. And for a man to be caught up in the middle of all that, oh gosh, I'm pretty sure Jacob's just like, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. I want to hear all the strife all the time. So anyhow, there's a whole lot of names to be looking into. There's a whole lot of different things to be delving deeper into here. And we don't have time for that right now. So let's just move on with the rest of the reading. Genesis 30:25. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away that I may go unto mine own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served thee, and let me go. For thou knowest my service which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that Jehovah hath blessed me for thy sake. So Laban doesn't want to let his geese of the golden goose go, hey? And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And Jehovah hath blessed thee since my coming, and now when shall I provide for mine own house also? And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt, do this thing for me. I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. Welcome, Leon. Would you like to join in and read the Bible with us? We are in Genesis chapter 30 and just about to start verse 33. You are very welcome to raise your hand, send a message with questions or comments or anything, anytime. Genesis 30, verse 33. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face. Everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hands of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flock. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and of hazel, and of chestnut tree, and pilled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had pilled before the flocks in the gutters and watering troughs when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses. And so with that, we have reached the end of today's Bible reading. It's interesting how, number one, it's interesting to learn this way of raising, obtaining certain results from the cattle that you might have, from the sheep and so forth you might have. When I was a kid, I used to take care of the goats of my neighbors, kind of like Heidi. I would even wear my Tyrolese dress from Austria when I would go over to milk the goats for them. What we're seeing here is how Laban is trying to keep Jacob to stay with him and serve him longer for his own good. And Jacob realizes that Laban will never let him go, or will do his very best not to let him go. Laban is greedy and wants to keep taking advantage of Jacob's knowledge and way of taking care of the flock and prospering him. And so he proposes a seemingly bad deal. He proposes to Laban, hey, I'm going to take for myself, like, I'll keep working for you for another bit, and you don't have to pay me anything. Just, I will only take for myself all of the all of the, like anytime that one of these goats or sheep or whatever is born that has spots, that's streaked, it isn't looking like absolute best, I'll take that for myself. We could make a parallel with apples. In this area where I'm living, there's this apple tree out in the mountains, which still it has on it all of these apples. It has not been taken care of by man. It's like wild, and it makes these wonderful apples, but they're all very small, like a little bit contorted, full of little worms because they are absolutely delicious. Whereas if you go to the supermarket, you find these gigantic, beautiful looking apples. So this is pretty much the deal that Jacob is having with Laban. He's saying, okay, I don't want you to pay me anything. Every time that you have these wonderful big ripe apples, ones that are all looking the same and like they really look like they're worth a lot, you take those. And I will take the ugly ones. I will take the broken ones. I will take the not so nice looking ones. Fact is that he is actually, by this trick of using these sticks in the water before then, he is causing them to breed. This is breeder's tricks. And he is making sure, because he's the one that's taking care of the flock, he knows which ones are strong and which ones are not. And so he does this trick with all the strong ones. And so he is building up for himself prosperity, the prosperity which Laban has been withholding from him from all these years. Good thing, bad thing, God knows. And we have got to go and really dive in and do our own Bible study to have a look at what is going on here, to see if we have to do our own Bible study, dig deep and go and look at all these things. As we said, there's no time to be digging into too much more right now. Leon, every day at 2 p.m. Europe time, that will be Rome, we go live reading the Bible and commenting, and it's a place for free discussion. Anyone can bring in whatever they'd like. You can volunteer to read from your version of the Bible, because we don't believe in any of those, this Bible only, that Bible only. In the whole world, there is no way that everyone has the same Bible. So what we need to do is go and look at the original meanings of the words and ask for God to guide us. And it's also nice to explore even crazy ideas, such as flat Earth, like explore it. Why not? And have a look at the original words in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Chaldee, and Greek, and see what it brings up for us to really enjoy God's word together. Just a second. Wait a minute, this is not working. Yes, there you go. Is the mic coming through for you? Let me see.
Hello.
Hello.
What's going on?
What's going on? We are studying the Bible every day. Study the whole Bible in 1 year.
Okay. Yeah, I came on here because it's like all the other groups, man, it just got so much other stuff and it's kind of hard to even get in them. But yeah, I'm listening to you. So y'all talk about everything on here, or is it just like you gonna go? So we doing.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you. There's some.
Do you hear me now?
Yes. You traveling?
Yeah, I'm outside, so it's probably got a little delay in it.
Right. Where are you based?
I'm in Florida.
Excuse me? Yeah. Can't hear you.
Oh.
There keeps on being interruptions here.
Hear me now?
Try again.
You hear me now?
Yes, now's good.
I'm in Florida.
Oh, Florida. Okay. North or south or middle?
Middle,
Middle.
like Orlando.
Oh, Orlando. I was supposed to come to Orlando in 2018, and then situations happened and I couldn't come anymore. I'm in Italy.
Oh man.
All right.
How's it over there?
We're pretty much all in lockdown. It's
Wow, man.
here we have the, what's you call it? Here we have the street light, traffic lights. Like the regions are divided, like in, you have red, which means complete lockdown. You have yellow where there's some restrictions, and then you have green where you're free to go. No, excuse me, there's orange. It's yellow, orange, and you're going. There you go back. It's yellow, orange, and red. So it's kind of chaotic. Right now there's various regions which are all in the orange, and so you're not allowed to do too much. It's kind of restricted. And they're practically gradually imposing the vaccine on every single category, every single family, and there is no allowance for anyone to have any kind of, the only people who are allowed to have an exemption from having the vaccine is people who have very weird and rare illnesses. So it's just like, at least in the States, you still have a little bit more respect for human rights than you do over here in Italy. So
they're trying to make it tough too, man. I tell people, like in the States, the best thing to do is you got to have your own business.
Yeah.
Because if you have business, then you can kind of wiggle around a lot of that stuff. But you working for people, they still trying to mandate it.
Yeah. Here, the only people who are allowed now, like if you go to work anywhere, you have your own business, you still have to have the vaccine. It doesn't matter what kind of business you have, unless you're working from home. But if you have any contact with people from outside, or you have to go to any office or anything, starting now in February, you won't even be able to go to the post office if you don't have the vaccine. So that's how bad it is. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the mark of the beast. For the rest, prove me wrong. Time will tell. God knows.
I've been doing a little study too, man. Like I've been doing some study, like I've been doing like Matthew 24, and I'm reading a lot of Luke. And it's been hard talking to people about it, because it's like everybody has their way of seeing it. But then it's like, my thing is, when I read the Bible, I don't like to try to create my ideas of it. I like it to be what it is, because it's not my idea. Left to me, I would have never read it. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. Amen to that.
Why do I what I think it could mean when it's what it says, So I was reading, and he kept talking about this generation. He says all these things will happen in this generation, and this generation won't pass away until all these things happen. And everybody keeps, based off of that, all the things that he's talking about is going to happen and already happened. And so if those things already happen, I'm not saying that I don't believe in the Bible. And I'm not saying that the word is not right. I'm just saying, then what era are we living in? Because we can't be living in the same era. The
question is what the word generation means and what it can refer to.
Right, exactly. So then that's why I went back and read the whole thing. So when he was like, this is a perverse generation. This generation is a perverse generation. They seek for signs, but there will be no sign but the Son of Man. Mm-hmm. So through all of the book, the New Testament, when he's saying this generation, he's talking about that generation.
Oh, he's talking about this generation too. If we think of it, we can also be talking about generation of mankind, period.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's the point that I'm making. Mm-hmm. It's like we interpret it that way, but that's not what he's saying. Mm-hmm. When you read it, he's saying that this generation, mm-hmm. meaning what he's saying is
what generation? What? Yeah. What was the question? What is the question he is answering?
All right. If you go back to Matthew, they were walking past the temple, and the disciples said how beautiful the temple was. Mm-hmm. Right. And then he said, "You see this temple? All of those stones that are standing up will be laid flat."
Yeah.
Right. Now his disciples were like, "Lord, tell us when these things are going to happen." And mm-hmm. because they knew the temple was destroyed by prophecy that was going to be the end of the world or the end of the age, right?
They ask him three questions. They say, when will these things be?
Right.
What will be the sign of your return, of your coming back? Right. And what will be the sign of the end of the world? So there's these are three different occasions.
And what I'm trying to show you is that's how we take it. Mm. But what I'm saying is, like, think about it. If all your life you've been hearing about the prophecy of the destroying of the temple, when these things are going to happen, when mm-hmm. the prophet said the temples are going to be destroyed. Mm-hmm. They always knew that the destruction of the temple meant the end of their age. They knew that it was over. So as a person, when I ask these questions, I'm like, if you're telling me that the temple is going to be destroyed, then that's going to be the end of age, and that's going to be the return of the Messiah. So they're asking these questions not in three parts, because they're not asking questions in a way of waiting. They're not thinking about us when they ask those questions, right? They're not saying 2,000 years. Like right now, when you ask me, like, Leon, where do you live? Mm-hmm. You're not asking that question for a person 2,000 years from now. You're asking me right now. And then I'm giving you an answer for right now. I'm not giving you an answer for 2,000 years later.
Jesus gave them a composite sign of all things that were going to happen and the end of the days.
Right.
And at the end of the days, he says, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel,
right.
And then he's also talking about, he says, except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. That means the whole world. Unless those days be shortened, the whole world, not merely the area of Judea where they were. So he's giving them, like, in the Bible, God gives us these, in the Bible, God gives us time and again prophecies which have multiple ways they play out, and time and again they play out. It's kind of like this cycle. I like, if we're going to make a parallel with New Age belief system, New Agers say that when you go through problems in your life, you're repeating the cycle until you learn something. It's not really like that. It's like God is giving us all of these things so that when we see them in our time, we will remember what happened way in the past over with the Israelites, what happened with Cain and Abel, what happened. We will see the cycle and we will not be deceived, because we will see how it's playing out fits the
Right.
the pattern, let's say, right? So it's a huge discourse. How long have you been studying the Bible?
I've been in the Bible since my dad's a pastor. I've been raised in church.
Okay, what church? What denomination?
It was Church of God, and then Church of God changed into a non-denominational,
Mm,
and then yeah, it went through. Hold on, what's that sound?
Oh, it's my recharger for my phone. Well, Leon, I'm really happy that you joined today. I'm looking forward to talking more with you. I've got to go because I got work to do. Looking forward to talk more and discussing more of these things. Tomorrow we're going to be going over Genesis 31 and 32. If you'd like to join and volunteer to read the Bible, or bring insights in or anything, you are very welcome to do so. And I followed you.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
Are you new here to Clubhouse?
I've been on it. Like I said, I get on it sometime. I listen to people. I listen to what everyone is talking about. It's just, I don't know. Like, to me, I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird, man. I want authentic stuff. I want people talking about some real stuff, because I know what tradition is. I was raised in it. I know what it sounds like. I know how to answer questions.
Yeah.
I know how to be. I know how all that works. I know when people are answering questions based off of what they were taught, and they didn't even really study it.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying. That's why I challenge even myself. Like, when I read the Bible, I read it as if it was written to some.
I can't hear you anymore. Hello?
Hello?
All right, now you're back.
That letter, if I go find a letter and I start reading it, I can't take that letter and start applying it to my life as if it was written to me. I take that letter, and if I read it, I can take gems out of it. I can take things out of it that is beneficial, but I can't say that that was for me.
Ooh, the letter paradigm.
So
I'm seeing it as something completely. I'm not seeing it as I don't see the Bible as a letter. I see the Bible as a testament, God's testament, but not testament like as a will. This is His will for us as the inheritance. This is the promise of the inheritance. It's a legal document. It's not merely a love letter. It's a legal document. And
what I'm saying is, you're right. In the letter, I can read and I can see what God wants for the whole world. But I also have to understand the book, or what was written to a group of people. It was written to a time. And so when I look at it that way, not that I can't take love your neighbor as yourself. Yes, I can take that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he says that some of you are going to be persecuted, sent up to the judges, they're going to die for my name's sake, he was talking to his disciples.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to them.
Yeah, he's talking to me too. It happens all the time. Oh, there's just too much to talk about, and I really have to go. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing you. Right. Looking forward to seeing you again, Leon. Right.
All right.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye. And the room. Woohoo, this is gonna be wonderful. Talk with Leon in the future again. Yes. So ciao for now.